In the distant future, technology had advanced beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Cities floated in the clouds, and people traveled from one side of the planet to another in the blink of an eye using teleportation devices. However, not all teleportation systems were perfect. Some were quite notorious for malfunctioning. In the bustling city of Neo-London, a young engineer named Max had been working on upgrading an old teleporter. It was a small, outdated device located in an abandoned research facility on the edge of town. His best friend, Ethan, often accompanied him on these projects. Max and Ethan had been friends since childhood, sharing dreams of becoming great inventors. One day, as they were tinkering with the teleporter, they noticed something strange. The machine whirred to life with flickering light, and a small screen showed error codes flashing across it. Max shrugged it off, saying it was merely a minor glitch. They decided to test it out anyway, eager to see how well the machine could perform before Max's upgrades. "Come on, it'll be fun. We can teleport to that cafe on the other side of the city," said Ethan, his eyes sparkling with excitement. The two friends were unaware that this would lead to an adventure neither of them could have ever imagined. Max pressed a series of buttons, and the machine hummed. The air around them crackled with energy. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook. The teleporter emitted bright flashes of light, swirling around them like a storm. Just when they thought the device might explode, everything went dark. When the light returned, they were no longer in the old facility. Max and Ethan found themselves in a lavish room filled with gold and silk. The walls were adorned with rich tapestries, and a grand bed sat at the center, surrounded by opulent furniture. Confused, they looked around, trying to understand where they were. "Is this a museum or something?" Ethan asked, his eyes wide with astonishment. Just then, the door swung open and a woman entered. She was elegant, wearing a beautiful royal gown, and her expression shifted from surprise to shock. It was Queen Adeline, the ruler of Neo-London. She gasped, her eyes darting between the two startled friends. Max and Ethan stood frozen in place. They had just teleported into the Queen's private chamber, and they could see the shock on her face as she realized something was off. "Who are you?" the Queen demanded, her voice firm but astonished. Max quickly raised his hands in surrender. "We're sorry. We were just testing a teleporter, and we didn't mean to end up here." "Teleporting?" Adeline raised an eyebrow. "You've broken into my private quarters." Ethan, trying to ease the tension, chimed in, "We didn't break in. It was an accident. We didn't think this." Before he could finish, another bright flash surrounded them, and suddenly, they were not alone. The Queen's guards poured into the room, swords drawn, looking ready for battle. "Your Highness, what is happening?" one of the guards asked, confusion swirling in their eyes. "It's all right," Adeline said, raising her hand for silence. "These two are out of place." "Out of place doesn't even begin to cover it," Max muttered under his breath. The situation was becoming more chaotic by the moment. The guards caught sight of the teleportation device, still humming in the corner, shining ominously. The Queen, noticing the flickering machine, turned to Max and Ethan and said, "Can you turn that thing off?" We can try," Max replied nervously. He and Ethan scurried towards the device, hands fumbling with the buttons and switches while the guards kept a wary eye on them. As they worked, the room was filled with tension. The Queen was still dressed in her nightgown, furiously tapping her foot as she glanced at the guards who were clearly torn between protecting the Queen and apprehending the intruders. Ethan finally found a switch labeled "Power Down." With a deep breath, he pressed it. The teleporter's humming grew quieter until it was a soft whisper, then it simply flickered off. "Phew! That was close," Max said, wiping his forehead. Queen Adeline leaned back against her ornate desk, relief flooding her features. "Now, will you tell me how you ended up in my chamber, and why you were fiddling with such a dangerous device?" Max took a step forward, his heart pounding. "We found this old teleporter, and thought it would be fun to see if it still worked. We just didn't think it would take us here." Adeline studied the two boys. "You are quite lucky it was me and not someone else who caught you. Not all would be so forgiving." Ethan, sensing a chance to ease the Queen's worries, said, "We promise we'll make sure it never happens again. We can fix the teleporter so it works properly." The Queen smiled faintly. "Fixing it sounds sensible. I would hate for another mishap. You both will be questioned later, but first," she waved her hand, "you can help me prepare for the day's obligations." Max and Ethan exchanged glances, surprised but relieved. They both nodded eagerly. As they worked alongside the Queen, they discovered her sharp wit and kindness. She was not just a monarch, but a person with dreams and aspirations, just like them. After several hours of chatting and working, they managed to upgrade the teleporter just enough to make it functional and reliable. At the end of the day, the Queen thanked them both. "You've done well today. I may have need of your engineering skills in the future. How would you both like to become official engineers for Neo-London?" Max's jaw dropped. Ethan was equally stunned. "We'd love that," they both exclaimed. As they prepared to leave, the Queen activated the teleporter one last time. "This will take you back to your home. But remember, I expect to see both of you soon." With a final flash of light, Max and Ethan found themselves back in the old facility, the teleporter humming quietly. They looked at each other in disbelief. "Did that happen?" Ethan whispered. "It did." Max said slowly, a wide grin spreading across his face. "And we're going to be engineers for the Queen." That day marked the start of a new adventure, filled with challenges, inventions, and friendships. They had crossed paths with the Queen herself and emerged not just as inventors, but as part of something much bigger.